The research station Aurora Nexus floated quietly in space, its lights blinking slowly against the dark backdrop of stars. Inside the station, different alien species worked together on various scientific projects. The station was a symbol of peace between the Galactic Coalition and humanity, who had joined the galactic community just 2 years ago. Dr. Kevin Blake wiped his forehead as he worked in his laboratory. The human biochemist had been working for 12 hours straight on his latest project. On the metal table in front of him sat several small glass containers filled with a bright blue liquid. The liquid glowed softly under the lab lights, looking almost magical. Kevin picked up one of the containers and held it up to examine it closely. This was Combat Enhancement Formula 7, or CEF-7 as he called it. The serum was designed to make human soldiers stronger, faster, and able to heal quickly during battle. It was a top-secret project that only a few people knew about. The formula worked by triggering the natural survival abilities that humans had developed over thousands of years. Earth was a dangerous planet compared to most worlds in the galaxy. Humans had learned to adapt to extreme weather, dangerous animals, and deadly diseases. This made them much tougher than most alien species, though few aliens realized this yet. Kevin carefully placed the container back on the table and rubbed his tired eyes. He had been testing different versions of the serum for months, but this batch seemed perfect. In tests, it had increased human strength by 300% and made reaction times twice as fast. The effects lasted for about 6 hours before wearing off safely. A soft chime from the lab door made Kevin look up. The door slid open, and Zira walked in carrying a datapad and looking excited about something. Zira was a Villani, one of the most intelligent species in the galaxy. She stood about 5 feet tall with smooth blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. Her large violet eyes were always curious and bright, and her movements were graceful but careful. The Villani were known throughout the galaxy for their incredible minds. They could solve complex mathematical problems in seconds and understand scientific concepts that took other species years to learn. However, they were also very fragile physically. A fall that might bruise a human could break a Villani's bones. Even eating the wrong food could make them seriously sick. "Kevin," Zira said in her soft musical voice, "I have been analyzing the atmospheric data from the Kepler system. The results are fascinating. The oxygen levels suggest that 3 of the planets could support multiple species types." Kevin smiled at his friend's enthusiasm. Zira had arrived at the station 6 months ago, and they had quickly become good friends. She was always amazed by human biology and asked him many questions about how humans could survive in such harsh conditions. "That's great, Zira," Kevin said, trying not to show how tired he was. "Did you find anything unusual about the atmospheric composition?" Zira's eyes lit up even more. "Yes. The 3rd planet has trace amounts of metals in the air that would be toxic to most species, but according to my calculations, humans could probably breathe it without any problems. How do you do it? How are humans so resistant to things that would kill the rest of us?" Kevin laughed softly. "I guess we're just lucky that Earth was such a tough place to live. It made us harder to kill." Zira tilted her head, thinking about this. "It is remarkable. I have been reading about human history. Your species survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, plagues, and wars. Most species would have gone extinct after just one of those events." "Well, we're pretty stubborn," Kevin said with a grin. "We don't give up easily." As they talked, Kevin noticed that Zira looked a bit tired. Her usually bright skin seemed a little dull, and she was moving more slowly than usual. "Are you feeling okay, Zira?" he asked with concern. "I'm just a bit dehydrated," she replied. "I have been working for 14 hours on the atmospheric analysis. I forgot to drink my supplement." Kevin nodded. The Villani needed special hydration supplements to stay healthy. Their bodies processed liquids differently than most species, and regular water wasn't enough for them. There should be some supplements. "In the communal refrigeration unit," Kevin said, pointing toward a small alcove near the back of the lab. "Help yourself." "Thank you," Zira said gratefully and walked toward the refrigerator. Kevin turned back to his work, making notes about the serum tests. He was so focused on his data that he didn't notice Zira opening the refrigerator and looking at the containers. Inside. He also didn't notice when she picked up one of the small glass containers he had placed in there earlier to keep cool. The container looked exactly like the standard supplement bottles that Zira was used to. It was the same size, the same shape, and even had a similar blue color. Kevin had put it in the communal fridge because his lab's cooling system was being repaired, and he needed to keep the serum at the right temperature. Zira unscrewed the cap and drank the entire contents in one gulp, as she always did with her supplements. The liquid tasted a bit different than usual, more metallic and with a slight tingling sensation, but she thought maybe it was a new formula. "Thank you for letting me use your refrigerator," Zira said as she threw away the empty container and walked back toward the door. "I should return to my quarters and get some rest. Tomorrow I want to start analyzing the mineral compositions of those planets." "Good idea," Kevin said without looking up from his work. "Get some sleep. We can discuss your findings tomorrow." After Zira left, Kevin continued working for another hour before deciding to call it a night. He walked to the refrigerator to check on his serum samples and felt his blood turn cold. One of the CEF7 containers was missing. Kevin frantically searched through the refrigerator, hoping he had just misplaced it. But the empty container in the trash told him everything he needed to know. Someone had drunk his experimental combat serum, and given that only Zira had been in the lab, he knew exactly who it was. Kevin's hands shook as he thought about what this meant. The serum was designed for human biology. For a fragile Villani, to drink it could be fatal. He had to find Zira immediately and get her to the medical bay before the serum started working in her system. He ran toward the door, his mind racing with terrible possibilities. The CF7 was designed to unlock humanity's most basic survival instincts and physical capabilities. What would it do to an alien whose body was completely different from a human's? Kevin was afraid he was about to find out, and he feared the worst. Kevin ran through the corridors of Aurora Nexus, his heart pounding with fear. He had to reach Zira's quarters before the serum started affecting her system. The CEF7 usually took about 3 hours to fully activate in human biology, but he had no idea how it would react in a Villani's delicate body. The station's corridors were dimly lit during the night cycle, and Kevin's footsteps echoed loudly on the metal floors. He passed other crew quarters where different alien species were sleeping peacefully, unaware of the crisis that was developing. When Kevin reached Zira's door, he pressed the communication button urgently. "Zira, are you awake? I need to talk to you right away. It's important." There was no answer. Kevin pressed the button again, this time holding it down longer. "Zira, please respond. This is about your health. You might be in danger." Still nothing. Kevin's panic grew worse. What if the serum had already started working? What if Zira was unconscious or worse? He used his emergency override code to open her door and stepped inside. Zira's quarters were designed for Villani comfort, with soft lighting and carefully controlled temperature. Kevin expected to find her collapsed on her sleeping platform, but the room appeared to be empty. "Zira?" he called out softly, not wanting to wake other crew members in nearby quarters. A voice answered him from an unexpected direction, from above. "I am here, Kevin, on the ceiling." Kevin looked up and gasped in shock. Zira was hanging upside down from the ceiling, holding herself there with just her fingertips pressed against the smooth metal surface. Her violet eyes were glowing with an inner light that Kevin had never seen before. "How are you doing that?" Kevin whispered in amazement. "Villani don't have the strength to support their body weight like that." Zira gracefully flipped down from the ceiling and landed softly on her feet. Her movements were fluid and controlled, completely different from the careful, fragile way she usually moved. "I do not understand it either," Zira said, examining her, hands with wonder. "About 2 hours ago, I began feeling very strange. At first, I thought I was getting sick. My heart was beating faster and my muscles felt tight. But then the sensations changed." Kevin watched in fascination as Zira picked up a heavy metal chair with one hand and held it out straight from her body without any sign of effort. The chair weighed at least 50 pounds, and normally it would take 2 Villani working together just to move it. "Zira, you drank something from my refrigerator today," Kevin said carefully. "It wasn't a supplement. It was an experimental serum designed for human soldiers. Zira set the chair down and looked at him with curiosity rather than fear. A human enhancement serum? That would explain these changes. My mind feels sharper than it has ever been. I can process information faster and see connections between ideas that I never noticed before. To demonstrate, Zira walked over to her computer terminal and began typing at incredible speed. Her fingers moved so fast they were almost a blur. On the screen, complex mathematical equations appeared and were solved in seconds. "Look," she said excitedly, "I just solved the atmospheric analysis that was going to take me 3 days to complete, and I can see patterns in the data that I missed before. Kevin, this serum has not made me sick. It has made me better." Kevin stared at the screen in disbelief. The calculations were correct, and they were far more advanced than anything Zira had shown him before. According to everything he knew about biology, she should have been dying from poisoning. Instead, she seemed healthier and more capable than ever. "This doesn't make sense," Kevin muttered. "The serum should be toxic to your system. Your body, chemistry is completely different from human chemistry." Zira turned to face him, and Kevin noticed that her blue skin now had a subtle glow to it, as if light was coming from within her cells. Her movements were confident and strong, not the careful, delicate motions of a typical Villani. "Perhaps the serum works differently than you think," Zira suggested. "What if it does not just enhance human abilities? What if it teaches other biological systems to adapt the way human systems do?" Before Kevin could answer, the door chimed. Captain Lisa Turner's voice came through the communication system. "Dr. Blake, please report to Medical Bay immediately. We have a situation that requires your expertise." Kevin looked at Zira with concern. "Someone must have noticed the changes in your bio readings. The medical sensors monitor all crew members continuously." "Should I be worried?" Zira asked, though she didn't look worried at all. If anything, she seemed excited about what was happening to her. "I don't know," Kevin admitted. "This is completely outside anything I've ever seen before." They walked together toward the medical bay, and Kevin noticed that Zira moved differently now. She walked with confidence and strength, her steps sure and purposeful. Other crew members they passed in the corridors did double takes when they saw her, clearly noticing something different. In the medical bay, they found Captain Turner waiting, with Dr. Nexon, Zira's mentor and one of the most respected Villani scientists in the galaxy. Dr. Nexon was elderly even by Villani standards, with skin that had faded to a pale silver color and eyes that held centuries of wisdom. "Zira," Dr. Nexon said in the soft musical language of the Villani, "the medical sensors detected significant changes in your biological readings. Your heart rate, brain activity, and cellular metabolism have all increased dramatically. Are you feeling unwell?" "I feel wonderful," Zira replied in standard Galactic, switching languages so the humans could understand. "Better than I have ever felt in my life." Captain Turner, a tough woman with graying hair and sharp eyes, looked between Kevin and Zira with suspicion. "Dr. Blake, do you know what might have caused these changes?" Kevin took a deep breath. "Zira accidentally consumed an experimental serum I've been developing. It's designed to enhance human combat capabilities, but somehow it's having a positive effect on her Villani biology instead of a negative one." Dr. Nexon's large eyes widened in shock. "A human enhancement serum? Child, you should be in critical condition. Such substances are typically fatal to our species." To prove her good health, Zira walked over to a heavy medical scanner that usually required 2 people to move. She lifted it easily with both hands and placed it on the examination table. "The serum has not harmed me," she said calmly. "It has enhanced my natural abilities while giving me some human-like characteristics. I can think faster, move stronger, and my body feels more resilient." Captain Turner activated her communication device. "Bridge, I need to send an urgent message to Earth Command and the Villani Council. We have a development they need to know about immediately." As the captain spoke, Kevin watched Zira with growing amazement. She was examining the medical equipment with intense curiosity, her glowing eyes taking in details that she had never noticed before. She was becoming something new, something that combined the best of both human and Villani traits. What have we done? Kevin whispered to himself, not sure if he should be excited or terrified about the implications. Dr. Nexon approached Zira and began running preliminary medical scans. This is unprecedented, he murmured as he read the results. Your cellular structure is changing, but it's becoming stronger, not weaker. It's as if the serum is teaching your body to adapt and survive the way human bodies do. Kevin realized that his serum had done something far more significant than he had ever imagined. It hadn't just enhanced Zira, it had created a bridge between two completely different forms of life. 3 days after Zira's transformation, Aurora Nexus was buzzing with activity. Ships from across the galaxy had arrived to investigate what was being called the Enhancement Incident. Representatives from dozens of species filled the station's conference rooms, all wanting to understand what humanity had created. Zira sat in the main conference room, calmly answering questions from alien scientists and government officials. Her transformation had continued to progress. Her violet eyes now glowed brightly enough to be seen across the room, and her blue skin had a shimmer that made her look almost ethereal. She moved with perfect grace and spoke with confidence that impressed even the most skeptical visitors. General Marcus Webb, a stern-faced human military officer, sat at one end of the long table. He had arrived with a team of soldiers and scientists, all of whom looked nervous about the attention this incident was bringing to humanity's military research. At the other end of the table sat High Counselor Vextar, a senior Vellani official, whose ancient appearance commanded respect from all present. His pale silver skin and deep purple eyes showed the wisdom of someone who had lived for over 3 centuries. The implications of this development are staggering, said Dr. Kalani, a tall, insect-like Thrixian scientist. If humans can create serums that enhance other species beyond their natural limitations, it changes everything we know about biological science. Captain Turner stood at the head of the table, looking uncomfortable with all the attention her station was receiving. The enhancement was accidental. Dr. Blake's serum was never intended for use on non-human species. General Webb leaned forward. Nevertheless, the results speak for themselves. Miss Zira's capabilities now exceed those of enhanced human soldiers by a significant margin. As if to prove his point, Zira casually picked up the solid metal table with one hand and held it steady, while everyone's drinks and documents remained perfectly balanced on its surface. She set it down gently, not even breathing hard from the effort. The physical enhancements are remarkable, admitted High Counselor Vextar, but what concerns me more are the intellectual improvements. Zira's cognitive abilities now far exceed even our most gifted scientists. Zira nodded politely to her elder. The serum seems to have removed the barriers that normally limit biological potential. I can process information at incredible speeds and see connections that were invisible to me before. Dr. Nexon, who had been studying Zira's transformation closely, stood up to address the group. What we're witnessing isn't just enhancement, it's evolution. The human serum has triggered adaptive changes that allow Zira's biology to function, like human biology, while maintaining her natural Vellani advantages. A new voice interrupted the discussion. That's exactly what we were afraid of. Everyone turned to see Ambassador Korath, a reptilian saurian who served as one of the Coalition's senior diplomats. His scaled face was grim, and his yellow eyes held a hardness that made several people uncomfortable. Afraid of? Captain Turner asked. This could be the greatest scientific breakthrough in galactic history. Korath's laugh was cold and harsh. Or it could be the end of the natural order that has kept peace in the galaxy for millennia. Humans have been members of the Coalition for only 2 years, yet they've already created technology that could fundamentally alter every species in the galaxy. General Webb's face darkened. Are you suggesting that humanity's scientific achievements are somehow threatening? I'm suggesting that some achievements are too dangerous to exist, Korath replied. The Coalition has maintained balance between species by respecting natural limitations. If any species can be enhanced beyond their intended capabilities, that balance collapses. Zira stood up slowly, her enhanced senses picking up subtle signs of hostility from several of the alien representatives. Her improved perception allowed her to notice details that even Kevin missed. The way certain ambassadors exchanged meaningful glances, the slight tensing of muscles that indicated aggressive intentions, the chemical sense that revealed fear and anger. "You're not just concerned about balance," Zira said, her voice carrying a new authority that commanded attention. "You're afraid that other species will want what I have gained." Ambassador Korath's eyes narrowed. "Enhanced beings are unpredictable. They upset established hierarchies." "What hierarchies?" Kevin asked, confused by the political undercurrents he was sensing. High Counselor Vextar sighed deeply. "Dr. Blake, there are things about galactic society that newer members like humanity don't yet understand. The Coalition maintains peace by ensuring that no single species becomes too powerful. We have learned from history that enhanced beings often become conquerors." Zira's glowing eyes fixed on the Saurian ambassador. "But that's not the real concern, is it? The real concern is that humans might not be as limited as you thought they were." An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Finally, Dr. Kalani spoke up. "What do you mean by that?" "I mean that since my transformation, I've been able to access databases and information that were previously too complex for me to understand," Zira explained, "including some very interesting historical records about Earth and humanity's integration into the Coalition." Kevin felt a chill run down his spine. "What kind of records?" Zira's expression became serious. "Records that show certain Coalition species have been deliberately limiting human participation in galactic affairs. They've been classifying Earth as a low-threat world and restricting human access to advanced technologies in important positions." General Webb stood up suddenly, his face flushed with anger. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the fact that Earth is actually classified as a Class 12 deathworld in the secret Coalition databases," Zira said, her enhanced mind processing vast amounts of information simultaneously. Most Coalition species could not survive on Earth's surface for more than a few days. The gravity, atmospheric pressure, weather patterns, and biological dangers would kill them quickly. The room erupted in surprised murmurs and angry voices. Captain Turner held up her hand for silence. "Are you saying that humanity's home planet is considered extremely dangerous by galactic standards?" "Not just dangerous," Zira continued. "Earth is one of the most hostile inhabited worlds in known space. Humans evolved to survive conditions that would be fatal to almost every other sentient species. That's why the Serum works so well. It unlocks the incredible adaptive capabilities that humans take for granted." Ambassador Korath hissed angrily. "This information is classified for good reasons. Some species are not ready to know how dangerous humans really are." "Dangerous?" Kevin laughed bitterly. "We're the ones who've been trying to fit in and prove we're civilized enough to join your coalition. You've been treating us like primitive newcomers while secretly being afraid of us?" High Counselor Vexitar spoke quietly. "Fear may be too strong a word, but caution was certainly warranted. Humans are the first species to join the coalition who evolved on a world that would kill most of our diplomats within hours." Zira stood up and walked to the large viewing window that showed the starfield outside. "The Serum didn't give me human abilities," she said thoughtfully. "It gave me access to the kind of biological resilience and adaptability that humans developed naturally. The question is, what happens when other species realize what they could become?" As if summoned by her words, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Captain Turner activated her communication device. "Bridge, report. Captain, we have 15 Coalition warships dropping out of hyperspace around the station. They're powering weapons and demanding that we surrender all research materials related to the enhancement project." General Webb grabbed his sidearm. "It looks like some people have already decided what should happen." Zira turned from the window, her glowing eyes now blazing with an inner fire that made her look almost supernatural. "They're not here to negotiate," she said with certainty. That surprised everyone. "They're here to make sure this technology never spreads to other species." The transformation had given Zira more than enhanced strength and intelligence. It had given her the human ability to recognize a threat and prepare to fight back against impossible odds. As the station shook from the approaching ship's scanner beams, Everyone realized that the real test of human-alien cooperation was about to begin. The Aurora Nexus shook as the Coalition warships surrounded it. Through the viewing windows, Kevin could see the massive ships pointing their weapons at the research station. Each vessel was larger than the station itself, their dark hulls bristling, with energy cannons that could vaporize the entire facility in seconds. Zira stood perfectly still in the center of the conference room, her enhanced senses processing information at an incredible rate. Her glowing eyes moved rapidly as she accessed multiple computer terminals simultaneously, her mind working far faster than any normal biological brain should be able to. "They're not just here to destroy the research," she announced to the room, full of panicking diplomats. "They're here to eliminate everyone who knows about human enhancement capabilities. The communication logs show orders to leave no witnesses." General Webb activated his emergency communicator. "All human personnel, this is Code Black. Prepare for hostile action." Ambassador Korath stood up, his reptilian features twisted with anger. "You brought this on yourselves. Humans should never have been allowed to develop such dangerous technologies." "Dangerous to whom?" Captain Turner shot back. "The only people acting dangerous here are the ones pointing weapons at a peaceful research station." Dr. Sarah Martinez, the human xenobiologist who had arrived with General Webb's team, was frantically studying data on her portable computer. "Kevin, I'm seeing something incredible in Zira's bio readings. The serum isn't just enhancing her, it's unlocking genetic information that was already present in her DNA." Kevin looked up from his own scanning equipment. "What do you mean?" "I mean that all intelligent species apparently carry dormant genetic sequences that are similar to human survival adaptations," Sarah explained excitedly. "The serum activates these sequences and teaches the alien biology how to use them effectively." Zira nodded, her attention still focused on the computer systems around the station. "Dr. Martinez is correct. I can feel the changes happening at a cellular level. The serum didn't add human characteristics to my biology. It awakened capabilities that were already there but had never been activated." High Counselor Vextar looked stunned. "That's impossible. The Villani have never shown any traits similar to human survival abilities." "Because you never needed them," Zira replied. "Your homeworld is peaceful and stable. There was never any evolutionary pressure to develop the kind of extreme adaptability that humans required to survive on Earth." The station shook again, more violently this time. Captain Turner's communicator crackled with reports from her crew. "Captain, the lead coalition ship is charging its main cannon. They're preparing to destroy us." Zira suddenly straightened up, her eyes blazing brighter than ever. "I'm detecting something unusual. There are other ships approaching from hyperspace, but they're not coalition vessels." On the main viewing screen, new ships began appearing around the station. These vessels were different from the coalition warships, smaller, faster, and bearing the markings of independent trader guilds and exploration fleets. "Who are they?" General Webb demanded. Zira's enhanced abilities allowed her to intercept and decode their communications in real time. "They're representatives from dozens of non-coalition species. Word about the enhancement has spread throughout the galaxy. They want to see the results for themselves." Kevin felt a mixture of hope and fear. "That could be good or bad for us." "It's about to get more complicated," Zira said, accessing deeper levels of the station's communication systems. "I'm receiving a priority message from Earth. The human government has declassified some very interesting information about humanity's first contact with the Coalition." She projected the message onto the main screen so everyone could see it. The document was marked with the highest security clearances and dated from 3 years ago, before humanity had officially joined the galactic community. General Webb read the document aloud. Initial Coalition contact protocols recommended classifying Earth as uninhabitable and humans as a non-viable species for galactic integration. Reason given: extreme planetary hostility and species-wide adaptive capabilities deemed potentially destabilizing to existing galactic order. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Ambassador Korath looked uncomfortable, while High Counselor Vextar appeared genuinely shocked. "They tried to keep us out of the galaxy completely," Kevin said in disbelief. "The document continues," Zira said, highlighting another section. "Override authorization came from the Science Council, who wanted to study human biology under controlled conditions. Recommendation: integrate humans slowly while limiting their access to advanced technology and positions of authority. Dr. Martinez looked up from her computer with excitement. That explains everything. The Coalition wasn't trying to help humanity. Join Galactic Society. They were trying to study us while keeping us contained. Captain Turner's face was red with anger. We've been treated like lab animals for 2 years. Not lab animals, Zira corrected, her enhanced perception picking up subtle details in the classified documents. More like a controlled experiment. The Coalition wanted to understand how a species could survive on such a dangerous world without becoming aggressive conquerors. High Counselor Vextar spoke quietly. In our defense, history shows that species with significant survival advantages often become militaristic and expansionist. We had to be cautious. But humans didn't become conquerors, General Webb pointed out. We became explorers and scientists. We wanted to join the galactic community peacefully. Zira's eyes suddenly widened as she accessed even more classified information. There's more. The Coalition has been suppressing information about other deathworlds throughout the galaxy. Earth isn't unique. There are dozens of planets with conditions similar to Earth, and most of them have intelligent species that developed similar survival traits. The implications hit everyone at once. Kevin was the first to speak. You're saying there are other species like humans out there? Yes, but they've been classified as too dangerous for contact and kept isolated from the galactic community. Zira explained. The Coalition has been maintaining artificial limitations on galactic development by preventing the most adaptable species from participating. Before anyone could respond, the station's communication system activated. A cold, mechanical voice filled the room. Aurora Nexus, this is Fleet Commander Zektar of the Coalition Enforcement Division. You have 30 minutes to surrender all research materials and personnel related to the unauthorized enhancement project. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of your facility. General Webb stepped forward. This is General Marcus, Webb of the Human Defense Force. You are threatening a peaceful research station in violation of multiple galactic treaties. Humans have forfeited treaty protection by developing weapons of biological warfare, the commander replied. Your enhancement technology represents a threat to galactic stability. Zira walked to the communication console, her enhanced abilities allowing her to override the station's normal communication protocols. When she spoke, her voice was broadcast not just to the Coalition ships, but to all the vessels gathered around the station. This is Zira of the Villani, enhanced by human technology and speaking for all beings who believe in the right to evolve and improve themselves, she announced. The Coalition leadership has been lying to you about humanity and about other species with similar capabilities. They have been artificially limiting galactic development to maintain their own power. She began transmitting the classified documents she had uncovered, broadcasting the truth about Earth, about other suppressed species, and about the Coalition's deliberate policy of keeping adaptive species isolated and contained. The enhancement, Serum doesn't create weapons, Zira continued. It unlocks the potential that already exists within us. It shows us what we could become if we were allowed to grow beyond artificial limitations. Across the galaxy, billions of beings received Zira's transmission. Species that had been told they weren't advanced enough for full Coalition membership learned that they had been deliberately held back. Worlds that had been classified as under development discovered that they possessed capabilities the Coalition feared. The truth was out, and there was no way to put it back. As Kevin watched ships from dozens of previously unknown species drop out of hyperspace around Aurora Nexus, he realized that Zira's transformation had done far more than enhance one individual. It had started a revolution that would change the entire galaxy. The space around Aurora Nexus had become a gathering unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species floated in organized formations, their crews watching the tense standoff between the Coalition enforcement fleet and the small research station that had become the center of a galactic revolution. Fleet Commander Zektar's voice crackled through the communication systems one final time. You have 5 minutes to surrender, or we will open fire. Zira stood calmly in the center of the conference room, her enhanced senses monitoring communication channels from all the ships present. Her transformation had continued to evolve over the past few hours, and now she seemed to glow with an inner light that made her appear almost supernatural. "Kevin," she said quietly, "I need you to prepare more of your serum. We're going to need it." "More serum?" Kevin looked confused. "For what?" "For them," Zira replied, gesturing toward the viewing screen where ships from previously unknown species were still arriving. Representatives from 12 different species have volunteered to try the enhancement. They want to prove that the Coalition has been wrong about biological limitations. General Webb looked alarmed. "That's incredibly dangerous. We have no idea how the serum will affect other species." "Actually, we do," Dr. Martinez interrupted, looking up from her research computer with excitement. "I've been analyzing Zira's transformation, and I think I understand how the serum really works. It doesn't impose human characteristics on alien biology. It activates dormant genetic sequences that all intelligent species carry." Captain Turner moved closer to examine Sarah's data. "What do you mean by dormant sequences?" "I mean that evolution is more connected across species than we ever realized," Sarah explained. "The ability to adapt, survive, and overcome challenges exists in the genetic code of every intelligent species. But most worlds are stable enough that these capabilities never need to be activated." Zira nodded in agreement. "Earth was unusual because it required constant adaptation to survive. Humans developed these abilities through necessity, but the potential exists in all of us." High Counselor Vextar looked thoughtful. "If that's true, then the enhancement serum doesn't create artificial advantages. It simply unlocks natural potential that was already present." Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the station. But these weren't warning alarms, they were communication alerts. Ships throughout the gathering were requesting permission to dock with Aurora Nexus. "Captain," came a voice over the intercom. "We have representatives from the Krathari Engineering Guild requesting immediate boarding. They say they have critical information about Coalition suppression activities." Captain Turner looked around the room at the mix of human and alien faces. "How many species want to board?" 23 so far, ma'am, and more ships are still arriving." Zira smiled, her enhanced perception picking up details about the arriving vessels that amazed her. "They're not just coming to observe, they're coming to join the revolution." Fleet Commander Zektar's patience had apparently run out. The Coalition warships began moving into attack formation, their weapons charging with energy that made the space around them glow ominously. But as the enforcement ships prepared to fire, something unexpected happened. The volunteer ships from independent species moved to surround Aurora Nexus, placing themselves between the research station and the Coalition weapons. "This is Captain Vorthan of the Krathari vessel Strong Current," came a new voice over the communication system. "Coalition forces, you are targeting a facility under the protection of the Independent Species Alliance. Any attack on Aurora Nexus will be considered an act of war against our combined fleets." Kevin looked out the viewing window in amazement. What had started as a handful of curious ships had become a massive fleet of vessels from species he had never even heard of. Many of them were clearly more advanced than Coalition technology. "How many species are out there?" he asked in wonder. Zira's enhanced abilities allowed her to count and identify the ships instantly. 47 different species representing over 200 worlds. Most of them have been kept out of the Coalition for the same reasons humanity was nearly excluded. General Webb activated his communicator. "All Coalition ships, this is General Webb. You are now outnumbered 50-1 by species that have legitimate grievances against your government's policies. I strongly recommend you withdraw and allow diplomatic negotiations to proceed." There was a long silence before Fleet Commander Zektar responded. "This was not anticipated. We are requesting new orders from Coalition Command." While the Coalition ships hesitated, representatives from the various species began boarding Aurora Nexus. Kevin found himself shaking hands, tentacles, and various other appendages with beings he had never imagined could exist. Each species had their own unique appearance and abilities, but they all shared one thing in common. They had been told by the Coalition that they weren't ready for full participation in galactic society. The first volunteer for the enhancement, Serum, was Captain Vorthan, a tall, crystalline being whose body seemed to be made of living gems. My people, the Krithari, have been classified as too focused on technology for Coalition membership, he explained to Kevin. They said we lacked sufficient emotional development. Kevin prepared a modified version of the serum, adjusting the formula based on what they had learned from Zira's transformation. Are you sure about this? We still don't know all the potential side effects. I am certain, Vorthan replied. My species has spent centuries wondering if we were truly inferior to Coalition species. Now I have a chance to find out what we're really capable of. Kevin administered the serum and watched carefully as Vorthan's crystalline body began to change. The gems that made up his form started glowing with inner light, and his movements became more fluid and graceful. But the most remarkable change was in his eyes. They filled with an emotional depth that Kevin had never seen in a Krithari before. I can feel it, Vorthan said with wonder. Not just the physical enhancement, but something more. It's as if barriers in my mind have been removed. I can understand concepts and connections that were invisible to me before. One by one, volunteers from different species tried the modified serum. A Thrixian engineer gained human-like problem-solving flexibility while keeping her natural technical intuition. A Zolonian diplomat developed emotional resilience while maintaining his empathic abilities. Each transformation was unique, enhancing the individual's natural strengths while adding the adaptive capabilities that had made humanity so successful. Dr. Nexon, who had been observing everything with growing amazement, finally spoke up. This is not just scientific advancement. This is evolution in action. Each species is becoming a better version of themselves. As the enhancements continued, something beautiful began happening aboard Aurora Nexus. The different species started working together in ways that had never been possible before. Enhanced Krithari could understand and relate to the emotions of other species. Enhanced Thrixians could solve problems from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Enhanced Zolonians could maintain their empathy while developing the strength to act decisively. 3 days later, Fleet Commander Zektar received new orders from Coalition Command. The massive enforcement fleet began withdrawing from the area, but not because they had been ordered to attack. Instead, they had been ordered to begin negotiations with what was now being called the Independent Species Alliance. Kevin stood in the expanded research facility that Aurora Nexus had become, watching dozens of enhanced beings from different species working together on projects that would have been impossible just days earlier. The station had grown to 10 times its original size as more species arrived, bringing their own technology and expertise to share. Zira approached him, her transformation now complete. She looked like a Villani still, but enhanced beyond anything her species had ever achieved. Her violet eyes glowed with wisdom and strength, and her blue skin shimmered with health and vitality. "What do you think, Kevin?" she asked, gesturing at the bustling activity around them. "Did you ever imagine your combat serum would lead to this?" Kevin laughed, watching a group of enhanced beings from 6 different species working together to design a new type of faster-than-light drive that combined the best ideas from all their civilizations. "I thought I was making soldiers stronger," he admitted. "I never dreamed I was creating a bridge between different forms of life." "That's what humans do," Zira said with a smile. "You adapt, you overcome, and you help others do the same. The galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place." Through the viewing windows, Kevin could see hundreds of ships from dozens of species, all working together to build something new. The rigid hierarchy of the old coalition was giving way to a more flexible alliance, where each species could contribute their unique strengths, while sharing in the adaptive capabilities that had made humanity special. The revolution had succeeded not through violence or conquest, but through the simple demonstration that cooperation could make everyone stronger. As Kevin watched enhanced beings from across the galaxy working together to solve problems that had seemed impossible just days before, He realized that Zira's accidental transformation had done far